Hi there, folk. I want you to think about your day that you've just had. And I want you to think about, in specific, about that school day. And you'll realize that when you went to school, you had different lessons throughout the day. Lesson 1, you may have had maths. Lesson 2, you might have had science or life science. Lesson 3, you might have had geography. But you had to look at a timetable to figure out what subject you had and at what time you had that subject. And in this session, we are going to be looking at timetables. And there's a bit of theory that we need to look at here, so let's do that straight away. Timetables are similar to calendars in that they help us plan our time. Where calendars are useful for planning months and years, timetables are useful for planning shorter periods of time, like hours, days, and weeks. You may be familiar with timetables like those for your different classes at school and for TV shows. In this section, we'll learn how to read timetables and how to draw up our own timetable. All right, folks, coming to exams, some teachers are going to say to you, do you have a study timetable? In other words, have you put time aside on or planned your day so you've put time aside to study? So, for example, my day might look at that on a Saturday morning, I'm going to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to have a good hearty breakfast. Then I'm going to start studying at 8 o'clock, and from 8 o'clock through to 7:45, I'm going to study some mathematical literacy. Then from 8:45, as it were, till 9 o'clock, I'm now going to take a 15-minute break. From 9 to 9:45, I might want to study history. 9:45 to 11 o'clock, we take a bit of a break. 11 o'clock to 11:45, you get the idea? I'm putting my day into a timetable, and I'm also going to put time aside to eat. I'm going to put time aside for exercise, whether that exercise is going for a jog or going to the gym or just doing exercise in my room, but I've got to do some exercise. So I've got to plan that into my day. So a whole timetable is like a planning exercise. So something that we can look at and say, you know what, if I stick to this timetable, I am going to have covered at least 8 hours of study for that day. And to guide me to maintain those 8 hours, I'm going to stick to the time that I've actually stipulated for myself. Okay, let's have a look here at some examples. So look at the timetable below, and then we're going to answer the following questions. So in this example, we're looking at a timetable, and we're going to answer questions on the timetable. Later on, we're going to draw up our own timetable. Okay, so let's have a look here. So looking at this timetable, I can see quite clearly that this timetable is a TV timetable, and we've got SABC 1, SABC 2, SABC 3, and then of course ETV. Okay, and we can see that we've got the news, we've got the Bold and Beautiful, we've got Zone TV, later on we've got Cause and News on TV2, there's also some news, SABC 3 like news, they've got a program called Welcome to the Parker, ETV, we've got Rhythm City, we've got Scandal, in between those two we got News Primetime. We've got a program called Mad About You, and then we've got this wonderful, weird and wonderful thing called Panic Mechanic, which, if I remember correctly, was a film by Leon Schuster. Okay, so here is a timetable. So in my exam, I could be given a timetable and asked questions on that timetable, and that would normally come into a paper 1 because generally these kind of questions are not that difficult. Let's see an example on the type of questions. So, question 1. What is the difference in time between the English news at 5:30 p.m. and the English news at 8:30 p.m., both on SABC 2? Right, so let's go. SABC 2, we know we've got 2 newses. Okay, one is at 5:30 and then the next one is at 8:30 p.m. We ask, what's the difference in time? Well, we can actually see that there's a 3-hour difference. The one starts at 5:30 and the next one starts at 8:30. The one from 5:30 finishes at 6, so it's a half an hour news broadcast. And then I have a news broadcast starting at 8:30, finishing at 9 o'clock, also half an hour TV a broadcast. Okay, so the difference between those two times, one starting at 5:30, one starting at 8:30, the difference is 3 hours. Again, very simple type questions, hey? And the answers are all on my timetable. Okay, how long in minutes is American Idol? So let's try and find American Idol here quickly. We're going through them and we're trying to find American Idol, American Idol. Why can't I find American Idol? Here we go. Here's American Idol right over here. Now, American Idol starts at 7:30 and it ends at 8:30 because there's another program, the news broadcast, starting at 8:30. So from 7:30 to 8:30 is going to be a 1-hour program. Okay, so what is this question testing us? It's testing, can I find the information on the timetable? And then am I able to sort out times? Can I find a time difference? If Zonke wants to watch Isidingo after dinner at 7:30 p.m. and she needs 90 minutes to cook and eat dinner, what time should she start cooking dinner? All right, so she wants to watch Isidingo, but she wants to have supper first. So, and supper, she needs 90 minutes to cook and to eat her dinner. So if Isidingo starts at 7:30, okay, then we've got to subtract 90 minutes, which is an hour and a half. And an hour and a half before 7:30 must be 6 p.m. So Zonke is going to have to start cooking at 6 o'clock, which will give her time to cook the meal, to eat the meal, and then to relax in front of her TV and watch Isidingo. Our next question. Mandla wants to watch It's My Biz and Generations. He plans to do his homework in between the two shows. If he expects each subject's homework to take 30 minutes, how many subjects worth of homework will he be able to complete between the two shows? So he's going to watch It's My Biz, and then he's going to quickly do some homework and get to watch Generations. So It's My Biz and Generations. So let's just look for it. It's My Biz is over here, and Generations is not here. Where is Generations? Why can't I see Generations? Maybe It's My Biz is somewhere else as well. No, here's Generations, and Is My Biz is at 5:30. Okay, so what he's actually doing is this. He's looking at ETV. And ETV, he's watching It's My Biz. He's then going to change channels and watch Generations. And Generations is on SABC 1. Okay? So now, It's My Biz finishes at 6 p.m. So the one show finishes at 6 p.m. The next show starts at 8 p.m. That means he has 2 hours in which to do homework. Now, folk, in those 2 hours, every bit of homework is going to, or every subject is going to take him 30 minutes. That means he could do 30 minutes, another 30 is 1 hour, another 30 hour and a half, another 32 hours. So he can actually do 4 subjects worth of homework between the two shows. Right, Sipho wants to watch the news in English and in Afrikaans at the same time. Would this be possible? And give a reason for your answer. So Sipho wants to watch the news in English and in Afrikaans. Maybe he's got 2 TV sets, I'm not sure. But he wants to do it at the same time, and would this be possible? Well, let's see if we've got news in English and Afrikaans at the same time. Well, I've got news here, but I've got no news there. Over here, no English or Afrikaans news. Here I've got news, I've got no Afrikaans news there. Here I've got die nuus, And I've also got news on SABC. So nuus is the Afrikaans word for news. And I also have news. So yeah, he would be able to do that. So if he's got 2 television sets and he puts one over here and one over there, why he'd want to do that, I have no idea, and put this TV to SABC2, he'd be able to, at 7 o'clock at night, watch die nuus. And on that TV, SABC3, be able to watch the news. And so we'll be able to watch both newses simultaneously at the same time. I think that would give me a bit of a headache, and I'd be very, very, very confused trying to listen to both English and Afrikaans at the same time. But for some reason, he wants to do that. Maybe he thinks it's exactly the same news broadcast, and he wants to be able to hear the translation. Okay, so let's go to our next question. Why are the blocks on the timetable for SABC3 blank for 8:30 p.m. and for 9 p.m.? So SABC3, we've got blank blocks for 8:30 and 9, okay? Why are they actually blank here? Well, they're blank because we have a program, Welcome to the Parker, and it starts at 8 o'clock, and folk, it just keeps going. Okay, there's not a change in program at 8:30 and there's not a change program at 9. This program is lasting a long time. It just keeps going on and on and on and on. All right, now trust this is answering all these questions, and hopefully you're understanding everything. What is the total time period allocated to the news in all languages across all 4 channels? Okay, so now we've got to find the news in all 4 channels and in all our languages. I'm going to now write in yellow just so we've got a different color on our screen. So I've got a news over here. I got a news over here. I got a news over there. I've got a news over here. I've got a news over here. I've got a news over there, and over on this side, I got a news. Okay, cool. Well, this news over here is 30 minutes from 5:30 to 6. So I have news of 30 minutes. This one from 7:30 to 8 o'clock, another 30 minutes. This news from 5:30 to 6, another 30 minutes. From 7 to 7:30, another 30 minutes. Over here, from 8:30 to 9 o'clock, another 30 minutes. On SABC3, we've got one news period from 7 o'clock to 7:30, 30 minutes. And on ETV, we've got E-News Prime starting at 7 o'clock and finishing at 7:30, another 30 minutes. So when I look at this, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 30-minute slots. Here's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 3.5 hours worth of news. Now, my dad used to love watching the news, and there's nothing worse than watching the news when you're a young little kid. It's like, how boring is this? And he used to love watching the news. Now that I'm my dad's age, when he used to love the news, I love the news. I love seeing what's going on in the world and in our country. All right, so we've looked at a timetable. Now what we're going to do is we are going to try and make our own timetable. Let's have a look at this scenario over here. Sipho and Mpo are brothers. Their parents require them to do their household chores every day. These chores need to fit into their school sports and homework timetables. Using the information provided in the table below, construct a timetable for each brother for one day of the week. The 2 brothers' timetable need to be clearly laid out and easy to read. Okay, so Sipho is going to make a timetable, and their timetable is going to show what they're doing that day. At the same time, Mpo is also going to do the same thing, but obviously his timetable is going to be a little bit different. Now, folk, when I construct a timetable, I need to understand that sometimes there are certain things that have to happen at a certain time. And then there are other things that I can fit in between those times that I have to meet. So let's look at Sipho's timetable and let's see what he has to do. He has soccer practice from 5:30 to from 15:30 to 16:30. In other words, from 3:30 in the afternoon to 4:30 in the afternoon. Guys, he has to go to soccer practice then. He cannot suddenly decide, nah, I don't want to, I'll move that time, because it involves a whole team. And you can't suddenly say, listen, that time doesn't suit me, so the whole team must. No, you've got to be at that practice from 3:30 in the afternoon to 4:30, or 15:30 to 16:30. So let's go and look at Sipu's timetable, and we've got to put that in straight away. Okay, and I've got a timetable here from Sipu, and straight away we can see 2:30 to 3:30 returns from school and he has lunch. Now, from 3:30 to 4:30, he has to go to soccer. He cannot avoid that. When we go back now, we're going to say, right, what else is important? So we've done our soccer practice. We've got to feed the dogs. Now, is that at a specific time? Well, probably not. It's not going to make a huge difference if we feed the dogs at 4 o'clock or we feed them at 4:30. So we'll come back to that. Wash the dishes. Is there a specific time we have to wash the dishes? Well, no. Maybe something else is happening and we can wash the dishes a little bit later on. Complete his life orientation task. He's got homework to do. Again, we're not saying when he's got to do it, but what we are saying, it's going to take him 45 minutes to do it. Then watch the news at 7 o'clock for his history assignment. Folk, that has got to happen at 7 o'clock. Why? Because that's when the news is on. He can't say, right, I'm going to watch the news at 10 o'clock tonight, put it on and say, oh, there's no news. Of course there's no news. The news is at 7 o'clock. So let's put that in straight away. 7 o'clock, he's got to watch the news. All right. Now, all the other things he has to do can fit into this time. Take note though, supper is happening from 6:30 to 7 o'clock. He's got to have supper there with the family. That's the time the family is saying we're having supper, and so that's already been put on the timetable. The other thing is Sipu has got to go to bed at 8 o'clock. Okay? He's a young little guy and he needs a good night's rest. Okay, so let's fit in this other stuff. The first thing is this, that we need to wash the dishes. Okay, so we've put that in. Now we need to feed the dogs, wash the dishes. Now guys, you are not going to wash the dishes before supper. That's a bit problematic because it means then the dishes can't get washed. So we got to eat first before we wash the dishes. So let's have a look here. When does he eat and can we wash the dishes? Well, when I look here, I see we have supper from 6:30 to 7. We can't do the dishes from 7:30 to 7 to 7:30 because we're watching the news. That only leaves one little gap for doing the dishes, and that's from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. Okay, so we've washed the dishes. That has already been put in our timetable. Now, we've got to feed the dogs and we've got to complete our life orientation for 45 minutes. So looking at that, I'm going to quickly try and find a 45-minute slot as well as a slot for feeding the dogs. Now guys, there's a lot of time to do this, okay? I can actually say, you know what, let's do our life orientation here, and we're going to take a little bit of time in this half an hour as well. We're not going to go all the way to 5:30. We're going to go to 4:30, probably to 5:15. But we'll keep that time available. Then we got to feed the dogs. Maybe a good time to feed the dogs is just before we have our supper. Okay, so feed the dogs. Now, folk, when I look at my timetable, I can see I've got a bit of time free there, and I can just go and lie on my bed and just relax and think about the tough day that I've actually had. Okay, so there we've put together a timetable. We would do the exact same thing as well for Mpo, right? Where we look at what his day looks like. We put in the things that have to be that have to fit into a specific time slot. We do that first, and then the things that aren't defined by time, we can put them in the gaps, just like we did over here for Sipo. All right? Do we make sense? I'm sure it does. So we need to take an ad break. Before we do that, let's just summarize this little session that we've had. So in this session, we've had a look And we've analyzed various timetables, and we've even made a timetable of our own. And folk, making a timetable will be absolutely critical when it comes to your study time just before your prelims, and especially your final examinations. Know how to put together a timetable and be realistic when you put your study timetable together. Don't say, right, I'm going to start studying at 8 in the morning and I'm going to finish at 5 at night and I'm going to have no breaks. I'm just going to go. Da, da, da. It's never going to happen. Okay? And because you won't be able to stick to it the first day, you're going to say, this timetable doesn't work. Rather be realistic. Study for 45 minutes, take a 15-minute break. 45 minutes, 15-minute break. Okay? Take a good hour lunch break. If you feel you're really tired and you normally like to have a little afternoon nap, put an hour aside for an afternoon nap. Be realistic when you do your timetable, and then it's going to work to your benefit. All right, let's take an ad break. We'll chat later. Cheers.